And it should be
Oh yeah, here it
recording.
is.
Yeah.
It's recording. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Veronica, step in there. You know, you can be right there with
Yeah.
your grandfather. Okay. Here we are at 45367 Pozo Park Drive and in Posey, California. And we're fortunate today to be able to interview Stefan Specht and his granddaughter Veronica. And Step, that's what I always called you.
That's what I was always called. Exactly.
When you were a kid. We're here at what I would term Mr. Conklin's cabin. And of course now it's yours and your heirs. Why don't you tell us your involvement with Pozo Park and how this cabin came to be and a little bit about Mr. Conklin.
All right. My grandfather was working in Taft, Maricopa area after coming out here from Washington, D.C. to the Randsburg area and working in as an assayer. And then I'm not sure the exact circumstances that brought him up to Pozo Park, but I remember him saying it was just a dirt road and he was looking for a place to build a little cabin because they like to come up here camping, and they evidently camped on the property quite a while before building. And then they started the cabin. The pictures show the fireplace was built in the summer of 1934, and Dad Simons helped him build a cabin. Dad Simons had built one of the first places in the park, and they just started out with the living room. It's a small living room. Then they had a little cook tent or shed, and then they built the kitchen. And the upstairs loft was not added until probably the late 40s. Maybe it was about the time they got electricity. Of course, we never had electricity then. We used Coleman lanterns. And then we started coming up, since it was during World War II, it was a big vacation. There was a lot more activity here. They had horseback riding potlucks, because people didn't have any place else to go, and there was just a lot of interaction. People were very friendly. The fishing, the trout fishing was very good. They not only had rainbows, but they had even a cutthroat. But and then we just enjoyed it. We wanted to live here. And we wondered why Dad couldn't just get a job back in the oil fields in Bakersfield and let us live up here in the cabin.
Speaking
to live here.
Speaking of Dad, tell us what your mom and dad's names were. And
oh, my mom was Mildred Conklin. I'm trying to think if she was the eldest or second eldest. And then my father, Carl, as everybody called him Fritz, a German immigrant. And he helped, his picture is in there, is building the fireplace, and he did a lot of the roofing, and he was very much involved in building it. And he would bring us up during the summer and drop us off and come back a month later and pick us up. Some of the best times we ever had.
And who was we? Who would he drop off?
He would drop off my mom, Mildred, of course, and my brother, my older brother Fred, my younger brother Rolf, and we'd fish and hunt and be gone from morning till night, and parents didn't say anything till we'd drag in. They'd fix us dinner and put us in a little bathtub in the kitchen, and then they had a porch, and we'd go to sleep on the porch. Wonderful.
Yeah. Did you have some pretty good adventures up here with your brothers?
Ah, yeah, we had a lot of adventures. They're just almost too numerous to, nothing extreme, really dangerous, but just the places we explored, and just building in the stream. One time we built a dam up here, and just the little creek by the side of the cabin. When that gave away, then we heard from Claude, the ranger, because he drew his water out of the creek. Yeah. Up at the thing, at the gorge.
The gorge.
Yeah, and then all this muddy water came down, so he came down and chewed us out. But,
did you ever have any adventures with Mrs. Stegeman?
Mrs. Stegeman was my grandfather, and Mrs. Stegeman were mortal enemies, and sometimes she'd come down, and he'd just tell her to get off the property, and then she'd go up behind the garage and cry, and Mother would go up and try and say, "Oh well, you know." He said, "Nobody loves me." And then the property across the little creek, she thought she'd get back at him by subdividing that so people could build cabins right next to his. And it turned out that for him was great, because then he had neighbors. You know how he liked people to visit.
He was a social guy.
He was very social, and they'd bring him books. And he was just, he was a wonderful person. People liked him, and he liked them.
Yeah, well, he was loved up here, to tell you the truth. I always thought he was Mr. Pozo Park.
Right, yeah.
Now, Veronica, what do you think about this place? You know, you're the latest generation.
The cabin. I love it. I can't wait to bring my kids, who will be the 6th generation, here one day.
Okay, well, good. And you have some plans for the cabin?
Yes, we are currently in the process of restoring it because it is 73 years old and it needs some fixing up. So me and my dad's plans are to basically build a cabin inside of the cabin so that we can keep the nice log siding.
Yep.
But currently the cabin only consists of a wooden wall, and that's it. So we're going to build another wall inside of it and put some insulation in, and we're going to take out all of the flooring and redo the flooring so that it's level. And we're going to add a nice big window in the back so we can see out.
Hey, that sounds good.
Yeah, and grandmother was cause of this, because granddad used to tell me when they first built the cabin, that was just a small tree, and then she wanted it. She loved the idea of building the cabin around the tree, and of course then it started destroying the cabin. So
we basically had the choice of the tree or the cabin.
yes, and that was, we all loved the tree, and so it was
It's a tough decision.
The decision, so we could not do it again.
Yeah.
The cabin, or the tree, has actually grown up underneath the cabin at this point, and you can totally see inside where the floor is just splitting apart.
Yeah.
But that'll be taken care of.
Yes.
Well, let's see. What happened to our photograph here? Have you got something you want to show us?
It's still
Step.
up.
Yeah, here it is.
No, I took it in there.
Yeah.
This is summer of 1934. That's my father, Fritz and Mildred, and their old roadster. So that's the very beginning of the cabin, the fireplace.
Oh, so this is the fireplace that's right here.
Right. They
Yes.
got
The beginnings of it.
Right.
Okay.
And they got the plans from the government, something anyway, how to build the right fireplace. But this is how, when they'd come up here camping, and then they decided to do it. But I don't know the year. They just
you're
had a
talking
little
about down
shed.
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is when they'd come up camping. They'd bought the property and were camping, liked it so much they decided to build.
Whose roadster was that?
That
Hard
I
to
have no
tell,
idea.
probably.
Yeah, could have been my grandfather's.
Well, I remember Mr. Conklin's big green Buick.
Yes.
I mean, it was a huge car, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And anyway,
I wished he still, but he crashed it going down the hill.
yeah, I heard that was down toward Granite Station, wasn't
Yes,
it? Yeah.
I think he had a little TIA, and that's really what happened, because he had more after.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the
But he-
5th generation.
But he was very sharp up until the end.
All right.
Dad.
I don't know if you're going to get him over here. You're not going to get him. That's your son.
That's my son. That's
How many
one-
sons do you have, and
I
how
have
many
one
children?
son and one daughter, and I've just made up my mind it's going to be theirs. And well, I mean, that was decided a long time ago, but I figured now let them go ahead and take however they want to fix it up, because they'll be
Okay.
using it. They and their children will be using it from now on. And
Well,
that's
why
my
don't you
son, Eric.
introduce Eric for the sake of this
And
interview? Go ahead.
Oh, it's my son Eric, and now, which is a pleasure to hand over the cabin to him and let him do the remodeling, so they'll be able to come up and maybe even get a shower inside so his wife will come up too.
And a bathroom inside.
And my daughter Veronica,
Yes.
granddaughter.
Yeah, we've already met her.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been telling them about our restoration project.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, from a person that really loves Pozo Park, it's really good to have the
this is-
Spects
I've had,
back here, I'll tell you.
I used to have dreams that they were building condos here and they were nightmares.
All right, anything else for the good of the order?
We love our cabin.
Yeah. Hope to be back and bring a few more generations. Keep it
Yeah.
going.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right,
Okay,
thank
Gene,
you.
thank you.